Hello and welcome to part 2 of my attempt at doing a book review. I'm Nat and today is going to be the day I'm going to review Ruschelle Dillon's Arithmophobia. Now, I love Ruschelle Dillon. There's no secret. If you read The Stain, which was the last review I did on one of her books, you'll understand why I love this author. She has such versatility. She's as bad as Teresa Derwin, who I absolutely adore, because they both know how to be so creative with their characters. They know how to go outside of the box when it comes to doing a story. I mean, this whole book is based on the fear of numbers. Now, the publisher for this is Mystery Horror Publications, and in the forewording, you get a taster before you read the book from John Monaco, and describes it beautifully. The fear of numbers, how numbers have integrated into life, how we can't live without them, how some people could actually fall apart without numbers, as well as how society is built on numbers as its own kind of... It's just so complex. And I sat there and I went, ooh, this is going to be good. But obviously anything by Ruschelle, I don't doubt is going to be brilliant. Now, you start with story 1, which is called The One, and you have a Reverend Adam who is obsessed with the Matrix. This leads you in and gives you the ultimate idea of what this book is going to be, because it's not your stereotypical kind of story. It goes beyond that. It goes more in depth. You feel for the character. You feel sorry for him. He's got all this stress on his head. All his congregation are dying around him. And he's got this pregnant wife who he has to look after as well. So there's this all automatically... You see this character is already bogged down with everything. He's got a lot on his mind, a lot of responsibility. So even you start questioning his sanity after a bit. It's like, oh, is the pressure getting to him? He is a young reverend, Are all these things really happening? Then you get to story 2, which is It Takes Two. Yes, it is what you think it is. It's a very good story about tatas. It's kind of about tatas. Basically, it's about a Botox Barbie who is looking to be better than everyone else. You know the person. Instantly I read there and I was like, oh, I know this bitch. And you do end up sitting there hating her more and more when she goes on about her life, and she's so obsessed with this image and upholding this look that she needs to be this. And I think, in my opinion, she gets a comeuppance in the story, so I was happy. So I enjoyed that one. Then, of course, 3's the Magic Number is a very different take on a horror, serial killer kind of crime story. It's so twisted. You don't expect it to go the way that a normal serial killer story goes. Again, she incorporates the number in there, really makes it obvious in this one that 3 is the magic number, but it's the way that she molds the story around it that makes it incredibly good. Now, of course, we move on to 4 Men on Horses, my favourite personally. Bit of a comedy horror, and I have posted a little bit of the chapter on my Instagram because it was just that one flipping sentence where they called me a dickhead. It broke me. Now, it's basically the 4 horsemen of apocalypse talking about how they failed at the apocalypse, and it's so good. I mean, at the moment I'm working on something similar, which is a project involving the 4 horsemen, which I'm hoping to incorporate, and that's hopefully going to be my first novelle. Now, it was so interesting to see somebody else's version of these characters, because I've got in my head my character designs of my versions of death, famine, pestilence, war. And to see a similar kind of character setup where you sit there and you go, this is brilliant. This is... Every single character has its own separate character trait. And you literally do think, oh my God, that does sound like war. Oh my God, that does sound like famine and pestilence. But it's so funny, the stories behind each of how they failed. And it's one of my favourites. So I do have to, if I had a hat, I'd take it off to her. And then you've got May Day number 5. Obviously includes the story of Cinco de Mayo. Now, that one was an interesting read as well, because I got a little bit of a history lesson in there. Very much appreciated. I love my history. Then we move on to these 6 walls. Now, these 6 walls is about how basically the planet has kind of adapted. It's found a cure to cancer. It's found a cure to all its worldly problems. Poverty, non-existent. Financial issues, nah. People dying young at stupidly young ages, nope, not happening. Problem, overcrowding, overpopulation. So what do you do when you have a situation where you have more people than you have land? And that is where this story comes in to answer the question of many possibilities. 7 Colours is a story about a scientist experimenting with the 7 prime colours. And it's hilarious. Honestly. I read the dialogue and it was like, I felt like I had to put my granddad's accent on for it, because it did. It felt like I was like talking in my granddad's voice. I was like, he's slowly been possessed by the spirit of my granddad from Cork. And it was hilarious. And some of the stuff that Biggleton comes out with, Biggleton's the leprechaun, comes out with is spot on references, and some of the insults actually I had to kind of think, oh God, my granddad said that too. Now we move on to Perfect 8. Perfect 8 was a nice creepy story about don't be such an obnoxious cowbag about being better than everybody else, otherwise your sister might come and get you. Maybe I should remember that with my own little sister. Anyway, Revolution 9 is the one that finished it off for me. Again, a little bit of a comedy horror with a touch of science fiction. It was different and it was funny. And I kind of questioned a lot of things, including reality, and maybe thinking that Ruschelle's letting on and knows more than most people do. Are musicians? I just have to know, are the musicians, are they actually aliens? If they are, please tell me, Ruschelle. Now, all in all, 10 out of 10. I can't give it a lower rating. I can't. There's nothing in here that I didn't like. There's no story in here that didn't grab me instantly. No character I didn't like. Obviously, I didn't like Botox Barbie, but that was the idea. You're not supposed to like Botox Barbie, but it was brilliant. It was engaging. It was creative. I loved it. I mean, the use of numbers and how she didn't go the stereotypical way of using them. She intertwined them into the stories and made it so intricate. And the complex little sayings at the very beginning of every story about certain parts of the numbers and what they mean. Like, there's nothing in here that I didn't like. Plus, I learned that starfish, when they lose an appendage, grow it back. And I thought that the most amazing thing I knew was that an octopus, once it tries to mate, this is a special breed of octopus, if it's trying to mate, it rips its penis off and it lobs it at its mate. That was my little thing to you guys, and it's not as, impressive as the starfish, but just well on that one for a bit, guys. All in all, guys, I totally recommend this book. I mean, look at the cover. I'll just bring it in closer. Look at it. Oh. And it will live on my shelf with pride, with all my other beautiful books. So my next review, because it's a big book, I'm not going to go over the top. I'm just going to do my top 5. So I'm not going to do what I did last time with Scare Street. With Hope Eternal Scream, I will be doing my top 5. So look out for that one. And also I will post my long ass review on Amazon and Goodread. I nearly called it Goodhead then. And that is all from me. So remember, guys, numbers, terrifying, fear them, run.